Hello, everyone. Welcome to On the Couch with David and Travis.
And this is episode 17, The Fourth Child.
Or Four Children.
The Fourth Children. That was the second one. I think it's a bit of a stumble of an episode. There's some good parts in it, but there's a key reason why this doesn't work in the grand scheme to me. What did you think?
I just felt like it wasn't going anywhere. I felt like there was no sense of forward momentum. It was a whole lot of the fourth child. He's who the fourth child is? What? And, I get they're trying to build tension, but if you're not going to explicit... you can obviously tell what they're hinting at.
It's a little obvious what they're building for.
But it's if you're going to have something built up without any sort of action in this kind of series, you need to have a payoff at the end, and there really is no anything at the end.
I remember this. This is sort of a two-parter that we're going to get the payoff, but it's really obvious payoff when we get there. I think it's executed poorly. Mm-hmm. And I think this whole idea of Toji as the fourth pilot and what they're going to do with it is really unnecessary considering what they do exactly after. I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty obvious where this is going to go. I think you can figure it out. And they kind of don't need it. It's pretty unnecessary. And a big part of it, just looking at this segment here, this episode, is Toji is just an uninteresting character. His voice isn't interesting. His design isn't interesting. His character isn't interesting. And every scene he's in is just boring fluff. The scene with him and the girl talking about making lunch, it has nothing to say. It doesn't advance the plot at all. It's not entertaining. It's dumb. And there's that scene with Shinji and Kensuke where he's like, oh, I want to be a pilot. And it's like, we did this 10 episodes ago. Yeah. You're not saying anything new or different. So scenes like this just sort of waste our time, especially when we're at this point in the show. For really what all those big reveals and intrigues we had, nothing really gets advanced in this episode. I wanted some Kaji spy action, dropping some intel.
Yeah.
And I think there are merits to that scene where he has a watermelon farm. But at this point in the show, I don't want... I mean, they're talking about, sort of some human condition stuff, pain, whatever. It's good. But it's not what I want right now.
Well, and it's not a Shinji episode.
No.
It's not really...
it's a Toji episode, which is the dumbest idea in the world. It's just a bad character.
And it's not... I think he's fine as, a side character. It's... I mean, he's not awesome, but he's okay, he exists in this world, whatever. I don't think... Really, the only scene that was intriguing in the whole thing was when he was looking at the kiln. It's okay, he's literally looking at his own demise coming.
There was some interesting stuff,
but besides that, there was nothing really visually.
Yeah, there was no visuals to work with here,
or really character-wise that was interesting.
It's just dull.
I feel like they could have made his life more interesting, but they just didn't.
They established him as just sort of this goofball side character earlier, and they could have sort of delved into it. Sometimes with Asuka, we learn she's more than just the angry hothead.
Yeah.
But with him, we don't learn anything more. And because these exact same beats of this sort of piece of the show are going to be essentially recreated in our next sort of set piece, it's just really irrelevant. And it's really sort of a waste of time. It's a pace killer. For episodes 15 and 16, I was like, come on, let's go. Let's get to this. This is good. This is good.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of boring.
Yeah, it kind of was.
And it's I don't say I need action. There's no action in this episode, but there's also no interesting color. There's a bit of a sunset on that watermelon scene, but there's nothing new, exciting, different here. Mm-mm. So I had a few things. There's some... Lore-wise, we do get some information. Oh, there is a facility in the U.S. They're also creating Aylas. Mm-hmm. And that adds a bit of a sense of scale to what's going on.
Yeah. We know Germany was making that engine.
Germany's working on stuff.
And really, that's how weapons are developed now, in the real world as well. Is you might have a parts manufacturer here who constructs one portion of it, whereas, it might construct the barrel of the gun, for example, whereas the U.S. constructs everything else.
The bullets.
Or whatever. They make separate parts of the same machine, so that's true to life.
And those parts are somewhat interesting. They're sort of dancing around the idea of how do these kids get chosen. Mm-hmm. Isn't it coincidental that they're coming from the same area?
They're all going to the same school.
They're going to the same school. But they don't. These are.
It just doesn't go anywhere.
These are elements you could have taken, and you could even kept them not going anywhere. But you take these small elements and you work them into an episode that has something to say and something to show, and you aren't disappointed. It's when you're bored that you start nitpicking and going, "This isn't going anywhere. This is dumb." If you're giving us something in the spotlight that really captures us, then we can go, "Okay, we'll come back to why these kids are being chosen, what's going on with Kaji, because there's something else to the focus." But there's no good focus here. There's no scene with Toji that works on any level, I don't think. You were talking about the Kilm scene. That's about 8 seconds.
Yeah, and that was the only interesting part. Mm-hmm. Or like the basketball scene, I guess, was a little interesting
what do you
visually.
Mean he's playing basketball.
What I'm saying is that's more interesting than anything else that he's done.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather watch him play basketball than hear him talk, because I hate his voice.
And visually it was cool. I liked the sun rays and the orange.
I think this whole episode could have worked perfectly if they had a more interesting character to put in. Because the fourth child, Toji, it's a plot point. It's a plot device.
Yeah. We're
not meant to relate to him or care about him even really.
Well, they kind of they attempt to do it, but it doesn't work.
The whole reason this exists is because we know we're going to be building up to Shinji's reaction to it.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be looking at it through Shinji's lens, and it's not enough to have a character as a plot
device. And I honestly don't, I don't know how Shinji would react to this, other than okay.
Well, I think they're pushing that they're friends, and he's going to be upset.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. It just feels like there's no stakes.
Anything that I liked about this was just I liked when Masato had that little sort of suspicious looking, or Ritsuko had a suspicious look, or I liked when...
Because Ritsuko knows that Gendo is not telling her everything.
Give us some Ritsuko stuff. Give us some Kaji stuff. Give us something with that.
Yeah.
Don't give us... It's okay that you can have this, the fourth pilot is somebody Shinji knows and cares about. And we can work with that.
That could be a subplot.
We can work with that, but we don't need to focus on Toji to get that.
No.
They could just show, it's your old classmate. That's enough for him to have a reaction to.
Well, even we could just have the scene where Toji just randomly gets called into the office for no reason. And, like you said, they kind of dance around the idea of, why are all these kids going to school the same way? They could literally just say that, show the scene where Toji goes to class, goes to the office at school, and then, maybe do one of those, reflective scenes at the end, and that's really all we need in order for us to be able to understand that he's the fourth child.
And you can have it all being Shinji's... If you want to build to Shinji's reaction to this... Okay, have the scene, Shinji notices he's walking out.
Yeah.
He's confused. Why would Toji leave?
Yeah.
There's a new pilot. How does Shinji feel about that? That's already sort of an element that's changing things. It's somebody he knows. That's conflicting.
Yeah.
But we need to see it through Shinji. We need to see it through not even Asuka and Rei, because they don't have... They even talk about in the show that it doesn't matter to them at all. They don't care. They're more concerned with the piloting than they are who it is.
Yeah.
Shinji's more personable, so it makes sense that he would be upset potentially about this sort of thing. But make that part of the episode. And
not the whole episode.
Give us something to work with.
Yeah.
It's not even that interesting to talk about, really. There's just not a lot given to us here. It's a disappointing episode. It's a stumble.
Hopefully not a fumble.
The show is better than this. I'm guessing, I guess I didn't look this up, I should have. I have a feeling that last episode, which was this is getting a little funky, was written and directed by Hideki Anno, and this one was co-written with somebody else who's hey, let's try and keep this a normal show, okay? We don't want to get too.
We don't
want
to push too many people out of here.
But that's what makes it boring. What makes it interesting is the weird stuff.
Well, yeah, obviously. But it's not weird just to be weird either.
No,
there's purpose.
Absolutely not. So we're just gonna move on. There's really not a lot to say here.